Today, we're gonna talk about how cars usually works in part one with Ariel and Haruki, and me and Jose gonna do part two, which is collisions. So for collisions, there are many kinds of collisions, as you teach us in the class. We have elastic collisions and elastic collisions, but most of the time cars happen because the comfort zone is mostly inelastic. So let's talk about collision today. So when it's because of that, I'm gonna talk about car, especially collisions. So when a car is with 2 tons and going with a speed of 60 kilometers per second, it's really hard for a car to make a full stop. Even the car make a full stop, then the force must be absorbed somewhere else. If the car is not hit the wall, then the force gonna absorb by the wheels and it make it hard. But let's say the collisions happen and the car hit the wall, then let's assume that time for a car for full stop is 0.1 second. The weight of the car is 2 tons, 2,000 kilograms, and the velocity of the car is 60 kilometers per hour, which is 37.3 miles per hour or 16.7 meters per second. And the force of the car, based on Newton's second law, is equal to change of momentum divided by change in time. And change of momentum we have here is mass times velocity minus mass times velocity initial. And mass times velocity initial is about 60 or 16.7 meters per second. And it's going this way, so it's negative. So it's negative, and negative minus negative is, and this one is 0 because it's full stop. Then we have 2,000 kilograms times 16.7 divided by 0.1 is roughly 334,000 Newton. And because this force is so large that it can crush the car into pieces, and the pressure absorbed by the car also, the person inside also absorbed that. And we have roughly the car is 1 meters wide, this part. So the pressure that exert on the car is A equals 334,000 Newton over meters, which is 334,000 Pascal and roughly 3.3 atmosphere. It's 3 times the pressure that a human can handle. Now let's talk about the force that person had to deal with. So force is same thing with change in momentum over time, but the mass is different. The mass now is 60 kilograms. So let's say we have the equation and we calculate it is roughly 10,020 Newton. And that's still a lot of force. It's enough force to crush your skull. And the acceleration, because the stop time is only 0.1 second, so the acceleration is 16.7 divided by 0.1 is 167 meters per second square, and convert to g force is 17 g. So a trained pilot can only handle 9 g. So that's double the trained pilot can deal with. So we have the graph here is acceleration over time. So imagine this one is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 10. Then only 0.1 second, that person can have to have deceleration up to 17 g and go back to 0. So that's when crumple zone is invented in 1952.
Okay, so I'll be talking about collisions with crumple zone. The crumple zone is the front car of the car that is built to crumple in case of a collision to take the force and make more time. We said that the mass of the person was 60 kilograms. The velocity of the car is the same as the person, which is 60 kilometers per hour, which is equals to 16.7 meters per second. The force on the person is equals to the change of momentum over time. The change of momentum is equals to final mass times final velocity minus the initial mass times velocity over time. The force is equals to 2004 newtons, which is equals to 200 kilograms, which is actually what a person can stand. Now, the acceleration of the person is equals to 85.3 meters per second squared, which is equals to 8.5 Gs. Now, a trained pilot can withstand 9 Gs. We have 8.5 Gs, which is less than a trained pilot, and it gives us more time. With the acceleration being constant, it gives time for the organs to adapt. On our last example, we have 17 Gs, which is a lot, and we have not only 1 second. It doesn't give enough time for the organs to adapt.
Another fundamental thing about cars is airbag. So let's do the math without airbag first. So we have the angular speed, which is the initial speed, the tangent speed, over the radius, which is 16.7 over 0.2. So the longer the neck is usually 20 centimeters, so I take 0.2. So it's gonna be 83.5 rad per second. And the moment of inertia is the mass, the central mass, times the radius squared, which is 0.16 kilograms times meter squared. And this one is the central mass, which is usually here on our face. And I calculate the torque, which is the moment of inertia times the acceleration, and which is the moment of inertia time change in angular velocity over time. And I have mr squared change in moment, change in velocity, angular velocity over time, which I have 66.8 Newton per meters. And that is why when you stop and the face go to the left because of the torque, you can see using your right hand rule, when they go this way, the torque go this way. And the next thing I have to calculate is the tangent, the force tangent, which is this force when the reverse force that when he hit the wheel. So it's equal to m change in velocity over time, which is 4 times 16.7 meters per second over 0.2 second, which is the time to stop. And I have 334 Newton, and I think that's enough to kind of like damage and make you bleed. But the next fundamental thing is the A radical, which is the angular speed squared times the radius is 4,400 meters per second. That exert the force of m times a rad, m times change in angular velocity square times radius, which is 5,600 newtons. That's a lot of force that can basically like break your neck. So that's really bad for without the airbag.
Okay, so now we talk about collisions with airbag. Now with an airbag, we have a change in time which is equals to 2 seconds. The tangential force is equals to the mass times velocity over the change of time, which is equals to 33.4 newtons, which is equals to 1/10 of what we used to have before. So now for the radial force is equals to the mass to the radial acceleration, which is equals to 558 newtons. That is something that our neck can stand, and that it's better. That is why we have airbags to stop our neck from breaking.